Hey, Channel Insiders. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode. Real quick, how did you get here today? YouTube? Apple Podcasts? What if instead of coming to us, you could get this episode sent to your inbox every week, along with the top stories and insights from across the channel ecosystem? Well, now you can. Head to channelinsider.com and sign up for our weekly email newsletter right on our homepage. It's never been easier to stay in the know, and now you can too. Thanks, and enjoy the episode. Hey, Channel Insiders. Welcome back to Channel Insider Partner POV. I'm your host, Katie Bavoso, and my guest today is MK Tong, CEO of SotaTek USA, a global IT services and consulting company offering everything from product engineering to various technology services. In the age of AI, workloads are more intensive, timelines are shorter, and infrastructure is often overlooked or under-prioritized before moving forward with AI initiatives. MK and I dig into the importance of infrastructure as a service in the AI era and what it means to get it right. Menken, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks. I'm happy to join the podcast today.
I'm very happy to have you. As we were talking earlier before we jumped on, I know you're in Dallas today, so you're experiencing some warmer weather than I am here in Massachusetts, and I'm very happy for you for that. I hope you have sunshine as well, because I don't know what it looks like at this point.
Wonderful weather today, so good. Much
Wonderful
better than
to hear.
We are experiencing some winter storm.
Yeah, you did have some freezing, I heard, in Texas, which must have been wild to experience. What is that like when you go through that in a state that's probably not really ready for it?
I mean, everyone we just stuck at home, right? So we have already sure that we have enough supplies of food. So for the 3 days, either you are working, if not, you are just spend times on doing some development work and spending time with the families.
Got to pass the time. Well, thanks again for making it, and I'm glad you were frozen out from the interview today. So I'd love to dig into SotaTek because looking at everything you do a lot, and it is very, very massive as far as not only global reach, but everything that you specialize in. So you're a global IT services and consulting company offering everything from product engineering to services for cloud, data, and AI. So when you're explaining the company to a customer or even a partner for the first time, how do you describe what SotaTek actually does best today?
What we do best actually is product engineering. We always call ourselves as the product engineering, software development as a service, and data analytics and AI solutions development company, right? Nowadays, development is still the main bread and butter for many of the service organizations, including ourselves. So this will generate a lot of our revenue, right? In fact, from this particular service offering itself. And all the blockchain development, AI development services, they're all parked under the product engineering side. So we'll call ourselves as product engineering, software development as a service company.
So what kinds of customers are getting the most value from your company right now? Can you tell me about in terms of their size, their vertical, and their maturity level? Who are they, and what problems are they typically coming to you to help them with?
We typically serve 3 different verticals, which includes the banking and financial services and insurance companies. We call that BFSI in short. We also have healthcare and life science. So that is the second vertical that we usually served. And the third is going to be manufacturing and high tech. So these are the 3 key verticals that we serve, and we support from startup companies all the way to tier 2 organizations to Fortune 500 clients. So of course, different types of organizations will have different needs. Startup companies will likely come to us for a quick turnaround to develop something short and quick for a POC or a demo unit or MVP, minimal viable products to show to their investors, right? That is mostly for the startup companies. And tier 2 clients, they are mostly looking for leadership and how they can scale their operations to the next level, right? And then how they can focusing on their innovation or leveraging the innovation that we have so that they can increase their revenue, right? And or support their scalability of the operations. Whereas the enterprise usually is looking for some sort of a cost cutting or offshoring because of our global presence in different cities and countries. We have about 1,400, 500 engineers right now located across the globe. Majority of them is actually in Vietnam, India, and other Southeast Asia countries like Malaysia, right, Indonesia, Philippines, so on and so forth. So they look for us for offshoring or IT outsourcing services, or in current case, blockchain AI solutions development, because we do have a lot of AI accelerators that we have developed in-house that we are offering to different enterprise clients as well.
Amazing. So, like I said, very wide reach there. You just named a lot of countries in which you have thousands of those developers and engineers living in and working in. I'm curious to know what brought you over to SotaTek, because you joined about a year ago now as CEO for the US division. What drew you over here, and what makes you stay? What makes you get up every day and want to be a part of this organization?
First of all, right, the consulting IT services is my passion, right? So even though my first part of my career is not in this field, it's more like engineering and software development, R&D type of kind of work. But my second half of my career are focusing mainly on servicing and consulting. Basically, leveraging my knowledge or leveraging my team on in helping customers to solve their problems. That is how I have been very motivated to do for the past like 15 years, right? So why I joined SotaTek is mainly because I think Vietnam is one of the very good alternatives to some of the very mature outsourcing countries, right? Like for example, India, which is traditionally a very popular location for outsourcing. But of course, everyone knows that post-COVID, right, for the past 3, 4 years, there's a tremendous change to the whole paradigm in the outsourcing landscape. So India, particularly, that probably dominate 80% of the market, is also experiencing a big shift. We are, a lot of enterprises clients are coming to us because they are having problems with management overhead, right? The cost has increased probably doublefold, right? If not threefold, right? Some of the cost is getting very ridiculous now. So it's become a very difficult. And so I selected SotaTek as one of the companies to spend my entire my remaining of my career for the next 10 over years, 10, 20 years at least, is really because we have the same management style. The management team has the same vision. We have a strong and supportive board member. And most importantly, I think we can tap into 200,000 engineers, right? That is graduating from Vietnam every single year, right?
Wow.
So I can see a group of very very hungry, energetic, young workforce that is that I can tap into, that we can scale our operations, right, to support some of the emerging challenges. And instead of focusing on all the older technologies, they jump straight to the AI world. That's why we are one of the biggest player in the blockchain side, right? Blockchain is not easy to find. And I'm so surprised when I see that the companies are founded because they have blockchain development company. You can't even find that kind of a scale in Malaysia or Singapore in a more advanced space. But they have like hundreds of engineers that is certified in blockchain. So it is an eye opener for me as someone that has been in the industry for so many years. So I thought, I want to offer that to the clients or enterprise that is looking to solve their problems using cutting edge technology as well. The name itself, SotaTek, stands for state of the art technology, right? So we are using technology to solve business challenges.
You want to live up to that name and really showcase why you're called that. I
Right.
agree. I love to hearing about your passion and hearing about what drew you over there, especially on such a global stage. We're placing our bets in a new market now and seeing the talent and the expertise coming out of Vietnam. So I really enjoyed hearing about that. I'd like to start digging into a bit more of the topic that we're here to talk about today, which is infrastructure as a service. It's been around for years, but from your perspective, what's fundamentally different about infrastructure as a service today now that AI workloads are becoming mainstream?
Okay, this is it's a very big topic because as from my angle, right, infrastructure has grown tremendously, right? For the past probably 15 to 20 years, right? When I just get to know we are working with network, databases and all that, which is part of the whole infrastructures, we are all manual. Everything is manual, right? We are dealing with something on-prem. Before, that was like 20 plus years ago where things are on-prem. Cloud is not popular at all, right? AWS is still trying very hard to convince people to convert. Hey, use my cloud infrastructure, right? It has all the scalability and cost savings and all that, all the perks. So, but of course, I will classify that into probably three generation, right? First generation is probably about 15 years back, right, where the cloud is really starting. People are trying to deploy on-prem resources and infrastructures to the cloud. focusing on having virtual machines in the cloud, having on-demand services, or having how you can scale your operations, right, through reducing your capex by using more of a cloud infrastructures, right. So that I consider that as first generation, where people are really looking into reducing costs. We're really into that is a key driver, reducing cost and scalability, right. That is the time. In fact, the reasons why I came to US about 10 over years ago is because of that reason, right? Client is looking into migrating on-prem data centers to the cloud, and they're looking for a company to help them to manage that. This is a mega five Fortune 10 companies, right? And because of that, I moved from Singapore to US to help them out with these initiatives. And of course, that is the first generation. And of course, shortly after that, I think probably 10 years back, even until today, people are still looking into how they can optimize the infrastructures using code. We call that programmable infrastructure, right? That means that instead of managing the infrastructure yourself, people are looking into how to manage it more effectively, how to manage it more conveniently, right? So people are looking into using code as a way to manage the infrastructure. That's why you have a term called infrastructure as a code, right? So you use technologies like containerization, Kubernetes. You use cloud formation. You use different technologies, right, to help to do all these things, right? In fact, Terraform is one of them as well, which is a very popular until today. So using that, you able to manage the cloud more effectively, right? You are able to more conveniently as well, because all these are programmable, right? Become programmable. That I will classify as the second generation, right? You have one step better. And of course, third generation, which is current, right, which is an AI world, things change tremendously again, right? I think that because I used to offer something called FinOps, right? Cloud FinOps services, where my team of members going to the client side to help them to manage their infrastructure, right? How to optimize their costs, how to effectively manage the infrastructures better, so that at the end of the day, to have a more streamlined services, more streamlined processes, right? To approve certain infrastructures deployment. That is like the second generation time. Now with AI, you can do that in your screen, right? With natural language. You don't even need to deploy yourself. You just have to describe what you are looking for, and AI will do it for you. You don't have to worry about, hey, my engineers don't need to crack their head about how they can deploy, what kind of resources they should do based on what kind of memory size, CPU size is needed, and all that. All this can be done automatically with AI now. So nowadays, all the SaaS platform that is used to manage cloud infrastructures, right, is all equipped with AI capability. Of course, all with varieties of different maturity, right? Some really do what they say, some no, right? So, but that is the current thing that is happening right now, right? Infrastructures become invisible. So people are no longer seeing that, because last time you used to log into AWS and Azure, GCP to start to manage your infrastructures and deploy, right, all your policies and all that. Now, just through a chatbot, you communicate with AI. It will help you to do all this by automatically. So it's a much more advanced stage now. So I call that as Gen 3. Of course, with all this, evolution, the skill set of people also changes, right? I used to hire database administrator, network engineers, and all that, right? About 15 years, 10, 12 years back when I first came to US. Then after the migration, I convert them or reskill my resources to be cloud engineers, right? They do cloud engineers, they do DevOps, development, DevOps pipeline development, so on and so forth. Now it's all, hidden under the phrase of AI engineers, where they do the same thing, but again, they are trained to do better prompting. They are trained to do better tuning to make sure that the AI really help them to deploy what is needed correctly and effectively.
Very well put. And let's keep tugging on that AI thread that we were both getting into there, because AI, it sounds exciting. It is exciting, but it's also very resource intensive and expensive. So what mistakes do you see organizations making when they rush AI initiatives without rethinking their underlying infrastructure?
This is actually quite dangerous, in fact, right? If enterprises are not careful about what they are doing, right? Eventually, based on what I'm seeing, the trend is that eventually, right now, if you want to deploy some services, you log into AWS, you can check what do you want, and then you have a price, right? Based on your infrastructures that you want to deploy or allocate, you have a list of pricing. Eventually, it will be all token based, right? In the next probably 2-3 years, right? Maybe sooner. No one can predict when will happen, right? It will be token based, right? That means that you just buy token from AWS. It's only one price a token, right? So if let's say you said I want to do this, right? The AI will convert the token into whatever spending, right? That is needed for the allocation of resources automatically and scalable. And then after that, come back and say, okay, based on what you need, all this will be deployed. These are the resources, and then you'll be using about I don't know, 5 token or 3 token or whatever, right? This is giving a lot of convenience to the enterprise, but you will not know what is behind the scene, right? So the conversions and everything is still yet to be defined, right? You may just burn away all your money very quickly, just like from first generation to second generation, just like I mentioned, right? So when customers come to us for cloud migration, they are looking into cost optimization objective. But after they migrate, then they realize, oh, actually they spend 40% more than their infrastructure cost in the past. Then they come back to us and say, hey, MK, right? We thought migrating to the cloud is going to save costs. The reality is that it is not always the case, right? It depends on many factors, right? If you didn't optimize the architecture, optimize the deployment properly, and you don't have a right governance and process oriented team, it may go up very drastically. So 40% of increase of cost, right, after migration. So they are shocked. Of course, we are being deployed again to employ, to kind of like study the whole landscape to see how we can reduce the cost. The cost eventually does drop after about 6 to 9 months. It is not drop immediately, right? So it's a long cycle. Same thing will happen from Gen 2 to Gen 3, right? It's kind of a scenario where people just jump into AI bandwagon and thinking that they can solve some business challenges and reducing costs. That will not the case always, because the focus is not about cost, right? And if you ask most of the big players nowadays, enterprises, AI, the powerful thing is not about cost savings. It's about how you can turn compute, right, into innovation. With the compute, with the money that you spend, you can speed up the kind of innovation that you may take you about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So that is the key power of AI. So people that jump into the wagon shouldn't be thinking about cost. They should think about how they can maximize the output of AI to evaluate, innovation that can be evaluated.
I see. So one concern that we hear often is that infrastructure, as it becomes more automated, especially with AI, organizations fear of losing control. They fear of, if we automate it too much, we won't be able to manually do that. And you talked about the manual tasks bogging people down, but now we're seeing the overcorrection of worry. So how does SotaTek help customers modernize with infrastructure as a service without sacrificing visibility, governance, or security?
So that comes with the experience that you have, right? Because we have worked with multiple enterprise before, especially I mentioned to you just now the 3 verticals that you are focusing. 2 of them are highly regulated, right? So banking, financial services, and insurance is highly regulated. So does healthcare and life science, right? So with our experience working in such enterprises and industries, we know, and we have deployed and managed cloud infrastructures for the past 10 over years. We know how to deploy the right governance, right? Of course, AI is always evolving, right? No one can come and tell, hey, and say, hey, I have the whole set of rules. This is a rule that you follow, right? No one right now can say that. But we do know that what is needed in different industries, right? What is needed to make sure that we have the HIPAA compliance? What is needed to make sure that you have all the different compliance required, right? For different vertical industries. For that, we will code that and make sure that, whatever AI deploy, we will have a double check, right? To make sure that this is the, running accordingly. That's why often the time we have a team of people that is trained on that and to run audits, right? To make sure that deployments is being done correctly and effectively and following the guidelines and governance that is defined. Of course, the governance in the playbook, in the form of a playbook, is always aligned with the clients before we use that as a handbook, right, for deployment.
I would love to know a little bit more about a product that you spoke to me about in our call leading up to this. Can you talk to me about ACE?
ACE is actually in a form of a rack where you can actually deploy infrastructures automatically by using natural language, right? That means that instead of hiring a bunch of cloud engineers or DevOps engineers and all that helping you to deploy your resources, it is exactly in Gen 3 where you can deploy that automatically, right? So you talk to a chatbot and tell them that, hey, I want to develop these particular applications that is to be served in the what industry, what is the purpose of the applications, and what kind of a users base that you're talking about in which country. Then ACE will automatically calculate what is needed to be done, what kind of resources is required, what kind of memory size is needed, if there's AI features in it, right? What kind of GPU power is required, right? And then after that, we'll ask, this is the summary of what is going to be deployed. And you have two options for option A, option B, right? What is the pros and cons of option A? What is the pros and cons of option B? And clients can choose what they want. And when you choose option A, we'll deploy accordingly. And then after that, we'll evaluate and, all the governance, all the playbook, because often the time in our industry, it's a highly customized industry, right? Customized service offering, right? So we have to make sure that whatever that we are advising, the AI is advising, it has to be applicable to the customer's environment, right, and their processes. So this will be part of the conversation with AI. AI will communicate with the customers. Hey, this is the options, and this is our current playbook. This is our current kind of policies. Do you agree or do you not agree? If you don't agree, of course, you give me what you have, and then after that, again, I will populate it again, and then after that, once we made an alignment, then we will deploy automatically. This is considered a setup process, right? Because I'm talking about the initial setup phase, right? Once everything is set up, the AI is very familiar with your environment, very familiar with your infrastructures, your architectures, your apps requirements, your industry model. Then everything will be done very quickly, right?
You work closely with SAP environments in the cloud. What makes SAP workloads a good or challenging fit for infrastructure as a service? And what should organizations get right before they migrate?
In general, right, any SAP environment migration requires a lot of effort, right? Even within SAP, you are trying to upgrade from version to versions. It is also taking a lot of effort. I think the main thing is the preparations needed is really the processes, the workflow that is associated and embedded in SAP itself, because SAP is ERP system, right? Which is most of the time integrated with varieties of MES system, right? Or CRM system, or your own databases, or AI intelligence systems, right? So all these are actually their SCADA systems. So depending on the industry, so all these are integrated with your SAP system. So when you want to migrate something, SAP versions to either to within SAP itself or to another software, it requires you to understand the database, the schema, right? The processes that is embedded into the system, that is programmed into SAP, all the automation that you have already created, right? Can you be directly migrated to another platform? SAP sometimes offer direct migration, but many a time it doesn't. It is known to be notoriously known to be difficult to do that. That's the reason why companies like us exist, because we have done so many of those kind of migration. So, and we have done a lot of preparations, framework, best practices that we can just leverage and we use, right? In fact, we have in-house accelerators tool that can help to migrate. In fact, instead of maybe you spend a lot of time helping to prepare some of this, we can use the tool to scan through automatically all the link and everything, linkages and processes and integration points, right? APIs scanning and all that. Instead of doing it manually, we can scan through and can give you a list of things that is being associated with your current SAP tool, and then after that we can deploy it, right? With a tool that we can do deployment to different tools, different platforms that customers are requesting. Of course, all this depending on, really, there's so many ERP systems nowadays, right? Big, small, customized, different countries use different thing, right? There's just too many. So we have done a lot of migration activities, but those playbook or those framework are still evolving. But definitely, it's much easier than someone doing it manually.
I'd like to know from your experience what separates organizations that manage infrastructure as a service well from those that struggle. I could imagine you answer this question saying, well, the ones who don't come to us are probably having an easier job, but the ones who do come to us are struggling. But what is there a key difference or a pattern that you see for companies that are doing it well compared to those who are not?
A few things, right? Whether they come to us, it doesn't matter. I think main thing is that the first they have to keep up to the trend, right? Of what is needed, what is available, what kind of tool is available in the market that they can use. Some are open source, some are not, right? Understand the technologies that is available, and probably don't jump into the wagon immediately, right? Study that, do a POC, try it out, migrate a small little piece of it. I have heard too many times that customers, just come straight. They didn't do thorough preparations and investigation and they just, based on some research, online, they do some studies, point A, point B, right? Hey, this is the pros and cons, let's do it. A management buy off, and then after that, it's become a total disaster. Migration can be done, probably spend couple of $1 million to migrate. After that, again, they don't achieve the objective they do want. That happens all the time, right? Of course, we come in to add value because we have done it, and we can tell clients, hey, customers, hey, did something similar, you better avoid the mistake as well, right? So things like that is our value. But of course, putting SotaTek aside, I think technologies is important, right? Understanding that, doing proper preparations and investigation and due diligence is important, and making sure that the team, many a times, is this kind of migration work or optimization work are actually people oriented, very, very heavily reliant on the people that is doing that, right? People has to be willingly understand that this is a need, and then migrate that, and then making sure that they are actually wanting to do that. Because many customers, because with advance of tool, many a time it means, less work, right? Because automation is in place, people are worried about their job, nowadays. So but of course, from on the other hand, right, I'm seeing that customers is this is part of the whole preparation as well. Many a times they can better prepare the team by reskilling them as well. We're giving them a plan that, hey, this is going to be a new platform, you have to be trained to use this new platform, right? And with this new platform, you become more effective and efficient, then you can use whatever the remaining of the time to implement something more innovatively, right? So people spend more time doing more value added activities, instead of worrying about, hey, my job will be replaced. Of course, as I mentioned, right, in summary, right, technology, due diligence, making sure that the people are well skilled at the right area, and then process, making sure that you have the right process in before and after, right? You have to map it out, the right processes. All these are part of the whole migration, activities that is needed,
I'm curious what your take might be on this next question, because as infrastructure becomes more intelligent and automated, some managed service providers worry about being disintermediated, essentially cut out of the deal, cut out of the relationship. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for MSPs in an AI-driven infrastructure as a service landscape?
I have an interesting discussion yesterday with a group of CEO, right? So there's two groups, right? One group is still talking about, hey, AI is going to replace the works that being done. The second group has totally different ideas, right? I think what you asked is kind of irrelevant, because as an MSP, in the past, you provide bodies, you provide resources to help customers to solve their scalability problem, right? You have to scale their problems, you have to manage their IT operations at a cheaper location. Those are the many things that, one of the things that MSP are doing.
Mm.
And with AI, things are getting automated, right? People are worried that, hey, last time I used to propose 300 people to work on this particular thing. Now, every customer is coming to see how much AI is inside. Every deal that I'm coming across nowadays, right, for software development, how much element is done by AI? Are they worried about whether AI is there? Of course, they may be worried about whether some codes is AI, whether it's effective, whether it's secured or not, and all that, right? But the main question is that how much money they can save, right? So instead of 20 people, 30 people in the team, you probably need 10 people, right? If you don't tell me it's the same, right? It will be different no matter what. So from that kind of angle, right, people are already expecting some AI inside, regardless, right? Regardless. Now, in this current time. So with that, I think the way that MSP or companies like us, IT service provider or consulting company, right, is really to make sure that the human interaction is still enforced. The domain, right, the domain is something that not something that can be replaceable by AI. Instead of worry about, hey, I have tons of resources that can help you to scale, which is most of the value proposition of MSP. Now it should be how much value I can bring, right? What kind of security that I can help you with your AI that you're trying to deploy? What kind of cross-country border, governance and security and observability that I can use to help you with that? And how can I help you to clean up your data better so that your AI can have a better output, right? So that is the focus is different. You have to change according to the focus as well. You cannot use cost. Of course, cost is already an expected element, right? In all
Right.
engagement, whether it's before or after. Cost is already a standard and expectation. But on top of that, right? Instead of focusing so much on manual resources and stuff, focusing on things that how you can add value to the client to drive AI implementation better. How to use AI in a better, effective way in terms of managing the service operations. We have a tool that can manage using agentic AI to do customer service, right? But is it replacing people? No. right? The tool can help in a certain extent, but at the end of the day, you still need a layer of resources to provide the human interaction. Nowadays, AI is very often used for layer one. We call it layer one, L1, L2, L3, right? L4, there's 4 layers. So, but at least L1 can be done pretty effectively with AI, but not L2, L3, L4, right? So those are still very human intensive, right? And so we have to, the MSP has to shift their focus a little bit, right? When they sell their value proposition. And of course, with that, they also have to shift their whole operation model, right? We are shifting our whole operation model to make sure that all we call it SDLC, right? Software development lifecycle, right? It all has AI element in it. And then with AI element in it, we can either make it more efficient. At the same time, we can also reduce the cost and transfer the value to the client, right? At the same time, we have proper governance in place at the end of it to make sure that, whatever that we're trying to use from AI has to be properly vetted through and then scrutinized by experienced engineers as well. AI can also use to kind of like scan through, for example, test cases, right? Software development, you need testing, right? So software development test cases generated by AI, you also have to be vetted by another AI. It is possible nowadays, right? With multiple different LLM modeling, you can have something generated by AI and then vetted by another AI, right? And then vetted by a human. So it's possible. Yeah.
With that in mind, then, you've talked to me in the past about encouraging customers to focus on smaller, high impact AI use cases first. What do those wins look like, and how should organizations think about aligning those early AI wins with their infrastructure strategy?
First of all, understanding their whole infrastructure strategy is important, right? Before even think about the smaller use case that can align with the bigger picture of the infrastructure strategy, because the basic question right now is hybrid. Whether are you going to do AI yourself, right? Whether you want to deploy data centers yourself, right? There's a group of companies that's wanting to do data centers, AI data centers themselves without relying on the cloud, right? So they are often the government agencies, right? There's something called sovereign AI, right? That is, they want to deploy this inside the premises, right? So there's also companies, enterprises that wants to do in the cloud in a hybrid way. There's also another strategies about vertical infrastructure as well to deploy an AI, because a lot of AI nowadays is general AI, right? You have a generic LLM that is deployed. Most people are using that, but the trend is also moving that, are you deploying this specifically trained AI in a special mode? Like, for example, for healthcare, you have a healthcare LLM. For banking, you have a banking LLM. So that is going to be what happened, right? In the future, you have individual verticalized LLM that is trained for a particular industry. And not only that, now it's talking about trained LLM. In future, you have cloud AI accelerators that is also designed. That means from the silicons, from the chip perspective, it designed that way, that is optimized to run in your environment, in your vertical, right? So those are all happening. I mean, 6 months ago, you asked me, I will tell you probably 3-4 years down the road. Now I don't have an answer. It can happen like now, or maybe even like, few weeks or few months down the road. It's too, AI just changes everything, right? It's so fast to the kind of deployment and innovation. So as a CIO of the company, for example, you really have to think beyond that, right? Think about 5 years down the road, what is really happen. And then even if you don't know what will happen, but at least you need to know, what kind of trend is going to happen, right? For the few options, and how you are going to mold your organization's infrastructures towards that direction, right? That means your goal. At the same time, making sure that your current operations, your current projects, your current resources, everything is still in line, right? To intact, right? Without going haywire. I think that is the number one thing that every CIO has to think about it, right? Looking at the future, looking into what we have right now and how we can map towards that direction without losing track. After that, after you have that direction, then you think about, okay, what do I need now, right? In order for them to quickly demonstrate some use case, right? Quickly to deploy some of these use case to their upper management or to the board, right? For example, to have a better budget, bigger budget allocation, or or investment for startup companies. You really have to demonstrate in a short term, right? Because infrastructure projects are usually long term, right? Take about 9 months, 1 year, kind of down the road, right? Even with AI, it's probably 6 months still, right? It's going to be long term, right? But people are looking into, hey, can I see something 3 months? I want to see the ROI in the 2-3 months time, 3-4 months time, right? So that is the reasons why I'm telling you that people are moving into very specific use case, right? So this use case can be in the case of a sales agent, right? It can be maintenance agent, customer support agent. It can be onboarding agent. So these are all in general customer support in the past. But now, with this whole process of customer support, you can dissect into so many mini, role that is needed, right? And you can use AI to test out each of these area, right? From how you can scan through the whole communications, and sniff out some business opportunity, right? And convert that into potential opportunities in a CRM, that using the CRM to AI train to understand and analyze each of these opportunity, whether this is worthwhile to pursue or no, what is the risk level, what kind of angle that we should penetrate this particular account, to how you can run. Okay, once the customers is interested to know more, right, how you can pursue them. After you pursue them, close the deal, how you can bring them on board to, let's say, a bank, right? How to bring them on board to be a merchant, for example, right? How to bring them on board as a merchant. With the process of bringing on board itself is highly manual in the past, right? I need to look at your face, I need to check through your documents, right? I need to make sure that you have the right credential, your registration companies, everything is correct. You have your P&L, your statement, bank statement is all correct. In the past, all these are done manually. Right now, with agentic AI, you can do all these pretty much accurate. I would say 90% accuracy, 85% to 90% accuracy, right? And then highly automated, right? You have eKYC, you have OCR technology that can scan through documents. The OCR is being trained, right? The AI is being trained on a particular domain. In this case, is banking domain. So they'll pick up terms, they'll pick up the regulations, and in the future, you need to train the AI to be localized to particular country that you're operating, right? Malaysia, Singapore, China, India, US, they all have different regulation, banking regulatory. Can you imagine how complex is the system, right? Your AI has to be specially trained for that particular location, for the particular country, for the particular vertical, for the particular process. So once you have all these small things defined, okay, then you can see, you see where I'm going, right? So you can deploy things, at a smaller scale effectively. The reasons why I'm saying why smaller scale, because once you get too big, you just lose track. You unknowingly pump in more and more money, more and more money. There are a lot of unknown, right? Is in the world that you are trying to bring in. The moment that you are trying to figure out all the unknown, by the time it's going to be like 6 months down the road, right? So it's better to make something more manageable, something small size, chunk it up into something small, and then focusing on targeting that and on generate ROI immediately, quickly, clearly define the goal, clearly define the ROI, and quickly drive service company like us to meet the goal, or drive your own team to meet the goal, right? And of course, as you can see where I'm going, with all these smaller things that you're working on, depending on the projects, it has to align with the bigger picture, right? So the bigger picture is the top-down and bottoms-up approach, right? Once you have the trend, you understand where you're going, the CIO, defining the infrastructure's landscape, then you look at some of these projects, whether some of this project is fitting nicely to the goal that you are, the infrastructures that you're trying to bring the organization to, right? So that is the top down and bottoms up approach. Both way you have to consider.
Something important to consider very much. As we start to look towards the end of this interview today, I always like to ask my guests when they come on for a customer success story. So in the time that you've been with SotaTek, has there been any sort of customer success story that you really love to tell as a use case or a scenario where when you go to a conference and you say, hey, this is an example of why we work so well with what we do? What customer success story comes to mind for you?
Infrastructures, as an immediate one, right? That is the success stories that I helped SotaTek to perform. Is really the cloud migration example, right? So as I mentioned to you, after the migration, right, cost exploded tremendously, right? So customers doesn't expect that to happen, right? We do a thorough analysis to present to them what is needed to be done, and then of course we also immediately quickly spend some time, because customers doesn't expect that to do that, but we actually created a FinOps platform. That is the foundation of why I said we have a FinOps platform that can help customers to optimize their cloud spending, right? So we create a FinOps platform so that we give back the control to the client. This is a FinOps platform. This is the bearing. This is a dashboard, right? You can see how much spending, how much cost that you're incurring in each of these service offering, each of these infrastructures, and it drill down to individual. This particular person is spending you how much X dollars. This person is spending you how much X dollars. So you have a big pictures of all the cloud spending that you have right now, right? So customers can say, okay, I want to reduce 40%, let's say. Okay, you can tweak this button, tweak this button, tweak this button, right? So it's easy for them to have one look to do it. And we spend about 2 months at our cost to develop this to the client and customers is extremely impressive, because they never expect company like us to do that, right? Company like, big players like IBM and all that, they have those things already, right? But for us, we want to be something very customized to the client environment, so we develop something customized for them, right? So that is I think a very good success case study, because we have been with the customers for many years. And ever since that, we have been supporting them with a managed service model, leveraging the Cloud FinOps platform, at the same time helping them to implement security as a service. We implemented infrastructure as a service, infrastructures, many things with the managed service platform, right, to support them. So that is one pretty good, not non-AI relevant, to be frank with you, on that use case. But of course, right nowadays, our FinOps platforms already integrated with AI Insight, right? That means you can ask AI instead of customers coming back to tell us, okay, you should tweak this. AI will recommend you, okay, you should do these 5 things in order for you to reduce 50-40% of the cost without risk, right? You can hit 60% of the cost savings, but with a mitigated risk, right? So this is the things that you need to do. And these are the security policies that you have, and these are the things that you can do, right? Things are getting much easier now with a more advanced AI integrated FinOps platform. That is, we deploy them to many customers after that, right? Total almost 300 million of asset infrastructures is being managed by the Cloud FinOps platform that we have. So that is one case study, right? So the second one is actually, I would like to introduce about a bank as well, right? One of the largest bank in Southeast Asia. So they are not in US, but the world best bank for 7 consecutive years in Southeast Asia. So traditionally, they have been using big players like Accenture and IBM, specifically IBM, right? They spend about 350 million on a consulting company like IBM, right? So there are projects that they couldn't move through, right? Despite all the effort that they have done. So when the CIO one of my friend come to us, right? Asking for help. They say, hey, I've been using them for a year, spending a lot of money, but they couldn't optimize a simple thing, right? Which is the difficult part, right? Is a cold storage migration. We call it cold storage optimization. They are trying to improve the performance, right, of the particular data analytics platform that they have developed for cold storage. And it's in terms of millisecond, right? The performance improvement that they're looking for is in terms of millisecond. A CPU, a certain percentage of reduction, memory size, certain percentage of reduction, cost, certain percentage reduction. So, and that is happening during COVID time. That particular bank has very strict policies. No one can work from home. So it's very difficult back then, right? And we are the only team that is going there on-prem in their office, right, helping them, and there's no other employee there. We are the only one. Right? So we went there, right, and the whole plane, we are the only team there, right? There's no one else in the plane itself. So we went over there, and then we helped them out to solve their problem. We spent about 6 months, right? 3 months in the office in the country, in that location, and then 3 months, offshore, helping them with that. And the customers is extremely impressive after 6 months, right? So that is only one small project. The project is not big size, but the next year they gave us about 15 million projects within 1 year, right? After that project, because customer is so impressed with the work that with a small company like us, right, comparing to mega big giant player in the market, they're able to resolve the problems, right? Receive customized service, and they can see the passion. People are risking their life to go all the way to the office, helping them to solve the problem. And then they are very, very impressive, basically, right? And the next years, I have 7 projects from them, 15 million revenue,
Wow.
right? So all related to data analytics, right? We become the data analytics agency of record, right? For that particular client. And then we do data observability. We do a whole legacy modernization, migration work. We do cloud migration work. All these works for them. So it's a lot of work for the client after that. So it's a pretty impressive case study, right, from my angle.
I will definitely agree with that. Very impressive, and great to know that they're a happy returning customer. For those who want to learn more about you, about SotaTek, and to potentially become a customer or even partner with you, where can those interested go to learn more about you?
First thing, of course, you can learn more things from our website, right? Our website has a tons of information. In fact, we have recently also listed all the AI tools that we have in the market, in serving different clients to the website. We have about 20 plus agent AI solutions in the website now. Or maybe reach out to me if I'm of any assistance to anyone. So feel free to do that as well. I can be reachable in my email and cell phone.
Oh, amazing. Well, Menken, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure getting to learn about SotaTek and about your journey, and I look forward to following along in 2026.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thanks for the interview today. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Menken for joining me today, and thank you for watching or listening. You can check out every episode of Channel Insider Partner POV on channelinsider.com or watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/channelinsider_news and trends. You can also listen to us as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow wherever possible so you never miss an episode. Come connect with me, Katie Bavoso, or Channel Insider on LinkedIn and X. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Bavoso, and I'll see you next time.